Washington will not fix Washington. It's up to we, the people, to put the constitutional train back on the tracks. Joining me now from Lowry City, Missouri, State Director for the Article 5 Convention of the States Project, Keith Carmichael. Keith, Missouri passed a resolution to participate in an Article 5 Convention of the States. In the House, it went to the Senate. Then what?
You know, the House was fantastic, 105 to 43, and overwhelming vote, and lots of support there. In the Senate, you know, we've had, I think maybe we were a little bit, maybe we just were mining too much side on the House side. We were overconfident, perhaps. We passed the Senate last year 26-5, so we thought we had the will. We knew we had the votes. As it turned out, we were part of a deal, and we got set aside so they could go home early and not have to use the previous question to have the minority party set down. We were the sacrificial lamb, if you will.
How do you go from 26-5 in support to nada, nothing?
You know, it's a contradiction in terms, but the Senate leadership basically looked Senator Coburn in the eye on two occasions in their offices and said, you know, both Senator Kehoe and Senator Richard, which is the pro tem, Senate pro tem, Senator Coburn visited with those on two occasions, sat in their office, and they gave him their word. They said, if you get it over here from the House, we'll get it passed. And they seem to understand that we're, you know, the urgency of this. They seem to understand the importance of it. But at the end, what they did is they basically made a trade so they wouldn't have to go against the tradition and etiquette and use a previous question motion to stop debate and bring about an immediate vote. You know, it's
Kehoe and Richard, they're Republicans, correct?
Oh, absolutely, and they have a supermajority. And they did a deal for some things that I say it's not that it's not important. You know, I believe in paycheck protection and I believe in constitutional carry, but they can pass those. They have a supermajority, and they didn't want to use a previous question. They'd used one a few weeks before, has a tendency to, you know, kind of really tick off the minority, and they just shut down the Senate. So they got to go, you know, really the one thing that really irritated people across the country. We had hundreds of people from numerous states listening into Missouri Senate at the last minute, and they literally had an hour, if they didn't have 45 minutes at least, that they talked about the state dog in Missouri. They talked about Old Drum being the state dog in Missouri. Yeah. They killed all that time, and they had made a deal with the minority part, you know, in the Senate. Right. And
that's a
you know,
shame.
We're just not very happy about it. We're really it's embarrassing.
Well, so what now? You have to wait for the new session to bring it up again?
We do.
You do in the House as well?
Yeah. In the House as well. We have no carryover in the Missouri. We did the Senate one year. We did the House. You know what? We'll keep at it. And to be fair, we probably haven't worked as hard and long on grassroots in Missouri, and that's what has to happen in every one of these states. We have to find people who are willing to be engaged, and we found them. They came to the Capitol, and they were disrespected. They were ignored, and so we just need more of them, and we need them in every district. We need you to contact your senator in Missouri and let them know what you think about this. HCR 57 was a sacrificial lamb so they could go home early. And, the folks in Missouri, we had folks who gave up a lot of their time. They put their own gas in their own vehicles and their own tires, and they traveled, spent a lot of time up there. They gave up a lot of free time, and they were totally disrespected. So there just needs to be more of us.
When you, for this army that you need to get this thing over the hump, if you will, if you look at the general election, the presidential election, and you look at the support for Donald Trump, shouldn't there be almost a one-to-one relationship between a lot of people who support Donald Trump, who want to, essentially take a philosophical stick of dynamite to Washington, D.C.? This is a constitutional way to do that. So you would think that possibly you could draw support from people who support Donald Trump.
Absolutely. But unfortunately, we have some folks who support Donald Trump. For example, Phyllis Schlafly and the Eagle Forum. They've been against this process for 3 generations. For 3 decades. They've taken information that was drummed up in the 60s from the liberal establishment, and they've been parroting that information for 3 decades, and it's not based on scholarship. It's not based on – you simply can't it's like they can't do math. 13 states can stop anything that's proposed. They can't quit using the words constitutional convention.
Right.
Article 5 has never called for a constitutional convention, but they'll continue to use it because they continue to get results and scare people when they do.
It's an Article 5 convention of the states. The framers of the Constitution put it in there for a reason, for us to hit the brakes when we have an out-of-control Washington, D.C., which is what we have right now. And all we are trying to do, and what you are trying to do, is trigger an Article 5 convention of the states to proffer amendments. And then, of course, it takes 38 states to ratify those. But I got to go back to the one thing you said. Constitutional carry, did you at least get that passed?
We did. They did, and we're excited about that. We think it's important, and no question. And across the states, liberty is. We had that right already, but it's more enshrined, and when you can carry, and so on. And and we had I just have to really give my kudos to our sponsor in the House. He had both constitutional carry and Convention of States. That's Eric Burleson, and Eric Burleson's not a tall man, but he's a giant. He's a giant in my mind and in my book, and he worked hard. Went to the mat on several occasions and would not be moved off of that, even though they tried to push him off of it several times.
Well, congratulations to Eric. He's at least batting .500 on constitutional issues. Keith, thanks.
Imagine the opportunity to get back to that balance.
So that you don't have faceless bureaucrats destroying farms, destroying industry with no accountability.
We're the only ones who can do this. Congress is not going to do it.
This will be the biggest thing that's happened in the last century.
This is too great a moment.
Be leaders among leaders.